there's an old map. It was made in 1513. A Turkish sailor drew it. His name was Piri Reis. The map shows something impossible. It shows the coast of Antarctica without ice. But here's the problem. Antarctica wasn't found until 1820. That's over 300 years later. The shapes on the map match modern photos from space, almost perfectly. But Antarctica has been frozen for thousands of years. No one should have seen it without ice. Now scientists found something even stranger. Under the ice, right where the old map shows land, there's a huge heat source, a heat zone bigger than some states. It's melting ice from below. How did a sailor in 1513 map a frozen land he never saw? Why is there heat under the ice? Tonight, we find answers. Let's start with the map itself, the Piri Reis map. It's real. You can see it today. It sits in a museum in Istanbul, Turkey. A man named Piri Reis made it. He was an admiral, a sailor, a map maker. He lived in the Ottoman Empire. That was a powerful kingdom back then. Piri Reis made this map in 1513. That's over 500 years ago. The map is only part of a larger map. The rest is lost, gone. But what remains is amazing. It shows the Atlantic Ocean. It shows South America. It shows Africa. And at the bottom, it shows something that shouldn't be there. A coastline, a land, what we now call Antarctica. But here's the mystery. Antarctica wasn't discovered until 1820. British sailors found it. Russian sailors found it. They were the first to see it. Or so we're told. But if that's true, how did Piri Reis draw it 300 years earlier? How did he know it was there? Piri Reis left notes on his map. He wrote that he didn't discover these places himself. He used older maps, much older maps. He wrote about finding ancient charts from sources he didn't name. He copied them. He combined them. He made one big map from many old ones, but where did those old maps come from? Who made them? When? The southern part of his map shows a coast. It shows mountains, river mouths, land features. Scientists today have looked at this part. They've compared it to modern maps, to photos from space, to radar scans, and something shocking appears. They match. The shapes match. Not perfectly, but close. Too close to be a lucky guess. The coast on the Piri Reis map looks like Queen Maud Land. That's a part of Antarctica. Today, it's under 2 miles of ice. But the map shows it without ice, with mountains you can see, with rivers flowing, with details that are real, details that exist, but hidden under frozen water. Scientists argue about this. Some say it's just chance. They say Piri Reis was drawing something else. Maybe the tip of South America. Maybe he got confused. Maybe the shapes just happened to look like Antarctica. Pure luck, pure accident, nothing more. But other scientists disagree. They say the match is too good. The curves are in the right places. The mountains are where mountains really exist, under the ice. The river mouths line up. The bays match. This can't be random. This can't be accident. This must be real knowledge. Knowledge from somewhere, from someone, from some time. But here's the biggest problem of all. Antarctica has been frozen for a very long time. Scientists have drilled into the ice, deep into it. They pull up ice cores, long tubes of frozen water. Each layer shows a different time, like tree rings, like pages in a book. By studying these cores, scientists can tell when things froze. How long ago? How deep? The ice in Antarctica is old, very old. Some parts have been frozen for over 1 million years. Most parts have been frozen for at least 6,000 years, maybe longer. So if someone mapped Antarctica without ice, they had to do it a very long time ago, before modern humans built cities, before we had countries, before we had writing. Or did they? The map raises questions, hard questions, questions that don't have easy answers. How did Piri Reis get this information? Who saw Antarctica ice-free? Who mapped it? Who recorded it? And how did that knowledge survive thousands of years? How did it reach a Turkish sailor in 1513? Most teachers say there's no mystery. They say it's all explained. Either the map shows something else, or it's artistic imagination, or Piri Reis made mistakes. They say Antarctica couldn't have been mapped by ancient people. It was too frozen, too far away. too hard to reach, so the map must be wrong, or misunderstood, or overhyped. But the map exists. It's in a museum. Anyone can see it. The shapes are there. The details are there. The matches to modern data are there. So something is going on. Something we don't fully understand. Something about the past. About what people knew. About what we've forgotten. And Piri Reis isn't alone. His map isn't the only one. Other old maps show the same thing. Maps from different times, different places, different map makers, all showing Antarctica, all showing it before it was discovered. So let's look at these other maps. Let's see what they tell us. The Piri Reis map is strange, but it's not alone. Other old maps show Antarctica too. Maps that shouldn't know it exists. Maps that show too much detail. Maps that raise the same questions. Let's examine them. In 1531, a French man made a map. His name was Laurent Finet. He was a map maker, a teacher. He studied old books, old charts, old knowledge. He made a map of the whole world. And on his map, at the bottom, he drew a huge land. He called it Terra Australis, the southern land. His Antarctica is big, maybe too big, but the shape is interesting. It has bays, mountains, rivers, details that seem specific, not just a random blob, but careful lines, careful shapes. So where did he get this information? He lived in France. He never sailed to Antarctica. He never saw it. Yet he drew it with confidence, with detail. Then there's the Boachi map. Philippe Boache made it in 1737. He was French too, a royal map maker. His map of Antarctica is extraordinary. It shows Antarctica as two large islands, with a channel between them, a waterway dividing the land. Here's why this matters. Modern radar has looked under the ice, under miles of frozen water. The radar sees the actual land, the rock beneath. And guess what? Antarctica is indeed two large pieces, connected by land bridges. If you removed all the ice, water would flow between them. Boache showed this. In 1737, over 200 years before we had radar, before we had planes, before we could see through ice. How did he know? Boache's map shows more. It shows rivers, river systems under where the ice is today. In the 1900s, scientists found these rivers. Using special equipment, using radar, using seismic tools. The rivers exist. They flow under the ice, in the exact spots Boache drew them. How did a French mapmaker in 1737 know where rivers flow under Antarctic ice? It's impossible, unless he had real information, real knowledge, from some source. These maps suggest something disturbing. They suggest that someone, at some time in the past, mapped Antarctica, mapped it without ice, sailed around it, explored it, drew it, recorded it. Then that information got passed down, through time, through cultures, through generations, until it reached European mapmakers, who copied it, without understanding what they had. But who did this? Who mapped Antarctica? Who had the ships, the knowledge, the reason? Let's look at the possibilities. Some people point to the Phoenicians. They were amazing sailors. They lived around the Mediterranean Sea. They sailed everywhere, to Britain, to Africa, maybe to America, maybe to Antarctica. They had good ships. They had knowledge. They had courage. But we have no proof, no Phoenician texts about Antarctica, no artifacts there, just ideas, just theories. Others suggest older cultures, cultures before Egypt, before Sumer, before recorded history, cultures that were advanced, that built amazing things, that sailed far but then vanished, destroyed by disasters, by climate change, by war, leaving only fragments, only hints, only maps. Mainstream scientists reject these ideas completely. They say there's no evidence, no proof, no support. They say the map matches are coincidence, or mistakes, or wishful thinking. They say Antarctica has been frozen too long. No ancient people could have mapped it. The ice cores prove it. The geology proves it. So the maps must be wrong, or misread, or exaggerated. But the matches are hard to ignore. Multiple maps, from different times, different countries, different map makers. all showing Antarctica, all showing similar features, all showing things we only recently confirmed, with modern technology, with satellites, with radar. So either all these map makers made the same lucky guesses, or they all had access to the same real information. Information from somewhere, from someone, from some time we don't remember. There's another explanation. Maybe the maps don't show ancient knowledge. Maybe they show copying. One map maker invents a southern continent. He guesses. He imagines. Then others copy him. They refine his guess. They add details. Over centuries, through pure chance, the invented continent starts to look like real Antarctica. Coincidence creates the illusion of knowledge. This explanation is simple. It doesn't require lost civilizations. It doesn't require ancient explorers. It just requires copying and luck. So many scientists like this explanation. It fits their view of history. It doesn't challenge what they know. It doesn't force them to rethink anything. But this explanation has problems. Luck doesn't usually create accurate details. Random copying doesn't put rivers in correct spots. Guessing doesn't show Antarctica as two islands when it really is. So while this explanation is simple, it's not fully convincing. It leaves too many questions unanswered. We're left with a mystery. Multiple old maps show Antarctica, with surprising accuracy, with details we only just confirmed, centuries before the official discovery. So either we're seeing massive coincidence, or we're seeing pieces of lost knowledge. Knowledge from a time before our records. A time when people knew more than we think possible. The maps are real. They're in museums, in libraries. You can study them yourself. The question isn't whether they exist. The question is what they mean, what they tell us, what they reveal about the past, about what was possible, about what we've lost. And now, modern science adds more to this mystery. Science shows that Antarctica wasn't always frozen. Parts of it were ice-free, recently enough that humans could have been there, could have mapped it. Let's look at what the ice tells us. Ice remembers. When snow falls in Antarctica, it piles up, layer by layer, year by year. Over time, the weight crushes the snow. It becomes ice, hard ice. And that ice preserves history, a frozen record of the past. Scientists drill into this ice. They use special drills. They pull up long tubes. These tubes are called ice cores. Each core is like a time machine. Each layer represents a different year, a different time. The deeper you go, the older it gets. By studying these layers, scientists learn about the past, about temperature, about weather, about when things froze. The ice cores tell an important story. East Antarctica has been frozen for a very long time, maybe 1 million years, maybe more. The ice there is thick, stable, ancient. So if someone mapped East Antarctica without ice, they would have to go back before humans existed, before our species walked the Earth. That's not possible. So the old maps probably don't show East Antarctica. But West Antarctica is different, very different. The ice there is younger, less stable. It has melted before, multiple times. It has collapsed, then refrozen. Scientists see evidence of this in the ice, in the rock, in the geology. West Antarctica has had ice-free periods, not that long ago. How recent? This is the key question. Some studies suggest parts of West Antarctica were ice-free 10 to 12,000 years ago. That's recent, very recent. That's after the last ice age. That's when human civilizations were starting, when we were building the first cities, when we were learning to farm. So humans could have been there, could have seen it, could have mapped it. In 2017, NASA did a study. They used radar to scan beneath the ice. Special radar that can see through frozen water. What they found was unexpected: warm areas. Zones where the bedrock is warmer than normal, where heat is rising from below. This heat comes from inside the Earth, from deep down, and it's melting ice from underneath, not from the sun above, from below. These warm zones are in West Antarctica, the same West Antarctica that appears on old maps, the same West Antarctica that could have been ice-free recently. So the science and the maps start to align. They start to tell the same story, a story where parts of Antarctica were open, were visible, were reachable. Scientists have found more evidence. evidence of fast ice melting. About 10,000 years ago, much of West Antarctica's ice disappeared, quickly, much faster than expected. This happened during a warm period, a time when Earth's temperature rose, when ice sheets everywhere were melting, when sea levels were rising. If the ice melted fast, land would show, coastlines would appear, mountains would be visible, rivers would flow. Someone sailing nearby could see all this, could map it, could draw it. Then, when the ice came back, the maps would remain, would survive, would get copied, would eventually reach people like Piri Reis and Laurence Finet, who didn't understand what they were copying, but copied it anyway. The land under West Antarctica has features. Scientists see them with radar. There are mountains, valleys, river channels. These features were carved by water, by rivers. Rivers need exposed land. Rivers need liquid water. So at some point, West Antarctica was ice-free. Water flowed. Rivers cut through rock. Land was open to the sky. Some of these features match the old maps. The rivers Boache drew. The coastlines Piri Reis showed. The mountains Finet included. Modern scans confirm they exist under the ice, in the right places, in the right patterns. So the old maps might be accurate records of a time we don't remember, a time before the ice returned. But mainstream science stays cautious, very cautious. Yes, West Antarctica melted before, but was it ice-free recently enough for humans? Most scientists say no. They say the last ice-free time was too long ago, before humans could build ships, before we could sail oceans, before we could make maps. So the matches must be accidents or misunderstandings, nothing more. But some scientists disagree. They look at the evidence, they see the data, they say it's possible, maybe even likely, that West Antarctica was partly ice-free during early human history, during the time of the first civilizations. Someone could have sailed there, could have seen it, could have mapped it. Then that knowledge was lost. Lost to disasters, lost to time. Only the maps survived, only fragments remained. The ice tells a story of change, of melting and freezing, of times when Antarctica looked different, times when parts were open, were accessible, were knowable. The ice says it's possible, not proven, but possible, that ancient people saw Antarctica, drew Antarctica, knew Antarctica, before it froze again, before it became the frozen wasteland we know today. And now there's more. Modern scientists have found something else, something that makes everything stranger. In 2023, scientists published shocking news about West Antarctica. They had been studying the land under the ice, using radar, using sensors, using satellites, looking for clues about ice melting, about climate change, about the future. What they found was unexpected, a massive heat source, underground, beneath miles of ice. This heat zone is huge, bigger than many US states. It's an area where the rock is hot, much hotter than normal. The heat rises from deep inside the earth, from layers of rock far below. It warms everything above it. It melts ice from underneath. It creates water, liquid water, under solid ice. This water flows. It forms rivers. It forms lakes, all hidden beneath the frozen surface. NASA confirmed this discovery. They flew special planes over Antarctica, planes with advanced radar that measures temperature, that sees through ice, that maps what's below. The radar showed the same thing, a huge warm zone in West Antarctica, in the exact spot where old maps show detailed coastlines, where they show ice-free land, where they show features that shouldn't be visible. This is an incredible coincidence. Think about it. See it. Old maps from 1513, from 1531, from 1737, they all show detail in West Antarctica. They show coastlines, rivers, mountains. And now, in 2023, modern science finds a massive heat source in the same location, a heat source that melts ice, that could keep areas ice-free, that could make the land visible, mappable, accessible. So either this is pure chance, or the old maps and modern data are connected by the same reality, the same geography, the same heat. The maps showed what the heat made possible. Ice-free zones in a frozen continent. What causes this heat? Scientists aren't completely sure. They have theories, but no final answer. One theory is mantle plumes. These are hot spots from deep in the earth, like what creates volcanoes in Hawaii. Hot rock rises from deep down. It pushes toward the surface. It heats everything above it. This could explain the Antarctic heat. Another theory is volcanoes. West Antarctica has volcanoes. We know this. Some might be active, under the ice, invisible to us, but creating heat, warming the rock, making the area special, different from the rest of Antarctica. This could create the heat dome. But here's what's strange. The heat pattern matches the map pattern. The warm zones appear where old maps show detail, where they show coastlines, where they show rivers, where they show land features. So either ancient mapmakers somehow knew where heat existed underground, or the heat made those areas accessible, made them ice-free, made them visible, made them mappable. The heat dome is real. This isn't speculation. This isn't theory. This is measured fact. Multiple studies confirm it. Multiple methods detect it. Scientists from different countries agree. There's a massive heat source under West Antarctica, right where the old maps focus their detail, right where they show the most accuracy. If this heat has existed for thousands of years, it would affect the ice. It would create warm spots, places where ice melts faster, places where land stays exposed longer. During warm periods, these areas would clear first. During cold periods, they would freeze last. So these would be the most accessible parts of Antarctica, the parts most likely to be seen, most likely to be visited, most likely to be mapped. The location matters enormously. The heat is in West Antarctica, the same West Antarctica that ice studies show was recently ice-free, the same West Antarctica that appears on old maps with strange accuracy. So we have three things aligning: the maps, the ice history, the heat source, all pointing to the same region, all suggesting this area is special, different, important. Scientists are careful with their words. They don't claim this proves ancient mapping. They don't say the maps are definitely accurate. They just report what they found: a large heat zone under the ice in an interesting location. What it means is debatable. What it suggests is uncertain. What it proves is nothing yet. But the timing is interesting. These discoveries happened recently, just as people started asking hard questions about the old maps, just as researchers started looking closely at Antarctica's past, just as technology made it possible to see what's really there, under the ice, under miles of frozen water. And what they found supports an incredible idea. The idea that parts of Antarctica could be accessible, could be visible, could be mappable, even when most of it is frozen. The heat isn't uniform. It's not spread evenly. It's concentrated in certain zones, in certain areas. These areas show up as hotspots on scans. And when you put the old maps next to modern heat maps, something eerie happens. The old maps show detail in the same spots where heat is strongest, where ice is thinnest, where the bedrock is warmest. Coincidence? Maybe, but it's a stunning coincidence. More research is needed. Everyone agrees on this. Scientists want to drill, to sample, to study the rock directly, to understand the heat source better, to see how long it's been active, to know if it's been affecting ice for thousands of years or just recently. These studies are planned, but they're slow, they're expensive, they need permission, they need access. And that brings us to another mystery. Why is access to Antarctica so restricted? Why are there so many rules, so many limits, so many forbidden zones? Let's look at the politics of Antarctica, because Antarctica isn't just a scientific mystery, it's also a political puzzle. Antarctica isn't flat under the ice. There's a whole world down there, a world of mountains, of valleys, of rivers, of lakes, a hidden world, a world we're only beginning to see. And what we're finding is amazing. It's changing our understanding. It's making the old maps more believable. The Gamburtsev Mountains were found in the 1950s. Russian scientists discovered them using seismic equipment that can sense rock through ice. What they found was shocking. A mountain range, a massive mountain range, the size of the European Alps, completely hidden under ice. In East Antarctica, no one knew it existed. These mountains are tall. Some peaks would rise thousands of feet high if there was no ice. But there is ice, 2 miles of it, covering everything, hiding the mountains from sight. So for all of human history, no one knew they were there until modern tools revealed them. Until technology let us see through ice, the mountains raise a question. Could ancient people have known about them? If the ice was gone, if the peaks were visible, if explorers could see them from ships? It's possible, but probably not. These mountains are in East Antarctica, the part that's been frozen for over 1 million years. So they were probably hidden long before humans existed, long before anyone could map them. But West Antarctica is different. The mountains there are younger, more recently exposed, and the features suggest something interesting. They suggest water once flowed. They suggest ice-free times, times when these mountains could be seen, times when they could be mapped. In the 1990s, scientists found Lake Vostok. It's under the ice, under miles of solid ice, but it's liquid water, a huge lake, bigger than Lake Ontario. It stays liquid because of pressure and because of heat. The underground heat we talked about, the heat that keeps parts of Antarctica warm, the heat that melts ice from below. Lake Vostok isn't alone. Scientists have found over 400 lakes, all under the ice, all hidden, all liquid. They're connected by rivers, rivers that flow beneath frozen water, carrying water from one lake to another, creating a hidden water system, a system in darkness, a system under pressure, but a real system, an active system. Some of these rivers match the Boache map. Remember that map from 1737? Boache drew rivers in Antarctica, rivers that made no sense. How could a frozen continent have rivers? But now we know. The rivers exist, under the ice, and they're in the places Boache drew them, in the locations his map showed. So either Boache made incredibly lucky guesses, or he had real information, real knowledge about Antarctica's hidden geography. The land beneath ice has been scanned completely, using ice radar, using gravity sensors, using magnetic detectors. Scientists have built detailed maps, maps of the rock below, maps showing every valley, every peak, every feature. And these maps reveal something important. Antarctica without ice would look normal, like other continents, with mountains, rivers, coasts, bays, all the usual land features. But these features are hidden, buried under ice, invisible to normal eyes. You'd need technology to see them, or you'd need to be there when ice was gone, when land was exposed, when you could walk on it, sail around it, draw it. Then, even after ice returned, your maps would stay, would show the truth, would preserve what you saw. Modern scans have found strange things too. Circular shapes, linear patterns, geometric forms. Most are natural, rock formations, volcanic features, ice creating shapes. But some look interesting, some look organized, some look almost artificial, almost made, almost built. Mainstream science says they're all natural, no evidence of building, no proof of human work, no artifacts, no structures, just shapes that look interesting. Shapes our brains see as meaningful, but that are really just random, just natural, just coincidence. But the shapes are there, the scans show them, and they're in regions where old maps show detail, where heat exists underground, where ice is thin, so pieces connect. Whether they mean anything is debatable, whether we're seeing real history or imagined patterns. That's the question. Antarctica is different from every other place on Earth. It has no countries, no permanent people, no cities, no governments. It's controlled by a treaty, the Antarctic Treaty, signed in 1959 by 12 nations at first. Now over 50 nations follow it. The treaty has rules, strict rules, about what you can and can't do there. The treaty forbids military use, no bases for war, no weapons testing, no training. Antarctica is for science only, for peaceful research, for international cooperation. This sounds good, reasonable, but it also means control, tight control. Governments decide who goes where, They decide what gets studied, what gets published, what gets shared. You can't just visit Antarctica. Not freely. You need permission. You need permits. You need approval from many groups. Most of Antarctica is off-limits to regular people. Only approved research teams can access certain areas, and some areas are completely forbidden. Even scientists need special permission. Sometimes permission is denied. No explanation given. No reasons shared. What? The official answer is protection. Environmental protection. Antarctica is clean, untouched, pure. Human activity could harm it, could contaminate it, could damage its ecosystems. So access is limited. To keep it safe, to preserve it. This makes sense. Sounds reasonable, but it also prevents investigation, prevents independent exploration, keeps Antarctica locked. Multiple nations have bases in Antarctica: the United States, Russia, China, Britain, Argentina, Chile, Australia, others. These bases are supposedly for science, for research, for weather studies, but some are in very remote spots, far from anywhere, in harsh conditions. Why put bases there? What are they studying? What are they guarding? Some areas are restricted with no clear reason, no public explanation. Scientists who ask to visit get denied. Questions get deflected. Researchers who push too hard lose funding, lose access, lose support. So there's pressure. Pressure to not ask. Pressure to accept the limits. Pressure to stay quiet. Google Earth shows most of the world clearly. You can zoom in anywhere, see details, see buildings, see terrain. But parts of Antarctica are different. Some areas are blurred. The images are low quality or clearly edited, blocked out. Why? Google says it's because satellite coverage is poor, but satellites cover everywhere. Why would Antarctica be different? Why would certain zones be deliberately obscured? In the 1940s and 1950s, big military operations happened in Antarctica. Operation High Jump in 1946, Operation Deep Freeze in 1955. These were huge operations. Thousands of soldiers, many ships, planes, equipment. The official story is they were mapping, setting up bases, doing science. But the size suggests something more, something important, something urgent. Operation High Jump was led by Admiral Richard Byrd, a famous explorer. After the operation, he gave interviews. He said strange things. He mentioned regions beyond the pole, areas that were warmer, that had resources, that were important. But he was vague. He never fully explained. And soon after, he stopped talking about it. Why? What did he see? After 1957, some flights over Antarctica were banned. The official reason was safety, but pilots who flew anyway reported odd things: strange instrument readings, magnetic problems, visual oddities. Some flights disappeared. Others returned with damaged equipment. Explanations were classified. Reports were sealed. Files were locked. So what really happened? In recent years, some people who worked at Antarctic bases have spoken out, whistleblowers. They describe unusual security, areas they couldn't enter, missions they couldn't discuss, discoveries they were told to forget. Not all these accounts are believable. Some are clearly false, made up, but some come from credible people, people with backgrounds, people with experience, people with nothing to gain from lying. The Antarctica Treaty expires in 2048. Many nations are preparing for this, building bigger bases, claiming territory, securing positions. Why? What do they expect to find? What will become available? The treaty prevents land claims now, but after 2048, nations can claim territory, can take resources, can control areas. So something valuable is there, something worth waiting for, something worth preparing for. Some people believe ancient artifacts are under the ice, artifacts from lost civilizations, from people who lived there before it froze. These artifacts would change history, would prove advanced cultures existed earlier than we think, would show humanity is older, more capable, more sophisticated than our books say. So if such artifacts exist, governments would control them, would hide them, would study them secretly, would not tell the public. But this is speculation. No proof exists. No confirmed artifacts, no leaked photos, no hard evidence, just rumors, just theories, just ideas. Mainstream scientists say there's nothing there, nothing but ice, nothing but rock, nothing that changes what we know. So the restrictions are just normal protection, nothing suspicious, nothing hidden, nothing secret. Yet the pattern bothers people. Restricted access, blurred maps, classified missions, denied requests, silenced questions. If there's nothing to hide, why so much secrecy? Why so much control? Why not allow open exploration? Why not encourage investigation? These questions fuel doubt, create suspicion, suggest something is being protected or concealed. Maybe the secrecy is protective. Maybe authorities know something would cause panic, would create confusion, would disrupt society, so they keep it quiet. Not to hide truth, but to prevent chaos, to control information release, to prepare humanity slowly. This would be paternalistic, but maybe necessary if the truth is shocking, if it's destabilizing, if it's too much. Or maybe there's nothing. Maybe it's just red tape, rules for rules' sake, environmental care, political games, nothing mysterious, nothing hidden, just normal government slowness. This is the boring explanation, the simple explanation, maybe the right explanation, but it doesn't explain the maps, the heat, the matches, the patterns. So something is happening, something we don't fully understand yet. Let's put everything together, all the pieces, all the facts, all the mysteries. What picture appears? What does it all mean? What conclusion can we draw? We have ancient maps showing Antarctica before it was officially discovered. These maps show surprising detail, coastlines that match reality, features that exist under ice, rivers confirmed by modern scans. So either these are lucky accidents or they're records of real knowledge. Knowledge from a time we don't understand. We have ice evidence. Ice cores showing West Antarctica was ice-free recently. Within human history, warm periods when ice melted, when land appeared, when mapping was possible. So the timeline works. People could have been there, could have seen it, could have drawn it. We have modern discoveries. A massive heat source under West Antarctica, right where old maps show detail. Heat that melts ice from below. Heat that could create ice-free zones. Heat that explains how parts stayed open when most was frozen. We have hidden features. Mountains, rivers, lakes under the ice. Features matching what old maps show. Features ancient people couldn't see through ice, but could see if ice was gone, if land was exposed, if they were there to witness it. We have political restrictions, unusual secrecy, controlled access, classified missions, nations competing for future rights, building bases in remote areas, as if they know something, as if they expect something, as if Antarctica holds secrets worth protecting. Put it all together. What do you get? 3 possible explanations. Let's look at each. First explanation, pure coincidence. The old maps are guesses. Lucky guesses that match reality by chance. The heat is unrelated. The ice-free periods were too long ago. The political secrecy is normal caution. There's no pattern, no connection, no hidden history. This is the skeptical view, the safe view, the accepted view. Second explanation, ancient sea culture. There was a civilization we don't know about, a culture that sailed the world, that mapped continents, including Antarctica when it was ice-free. This civilization had advanced knowledge, good ships, great skill. They recorded what they saw, but then they disappeared. Maybe slowly, maybe suddenly, by war, by disaster, by climate. Only fragments survived, only their maps, copied through time until they reached people like Peary Race, who preserved them without understanding them. Third explanation, cyclical history. Civilization isn't straight, it's circular. It rises and falls. We've done this before, built advanced cultures, made technology, explored the world, then collapsed, lost everything, started over. Antarctica was mapped during an earlier cycle by our ancestors. Ancestors we've forgotten. Then ice returned. Knowledge was lost. Only hints remained. Only maps, only mysteries. and we're now rediscovering what we once knew. Which explanation is right? We don't know, can't know, not yet, not with current proof. Each has support, each has problems, each requires accepting something uncomfortable, either massive luck or lost civilizations, or repeated collapse. None is easy, none is simple, none is proven, but evidence keeps growing. More old maps are studied, more Antarctic scans are done, more heat zones are found, more restrictions are questioned. So maybe we'll learn more, maybe we'll find proof, maybe we'll solve the mystery, or maybe we won't. Maybe Antarctica will keep its secrets, maybe ice will protect them, maybe those in power will control access, will control information, will control the story. So we'll never know for sure. We'll only have questions, only mysteries, only speculation. But the questions matter. They make us think, they challenge us, they force us to reconsider what we know, what we assume, what we accept without questioning. History might not be what we think. Our past might be deeper, older, more complex, more mysterious, more interesting than our textbooks say. Antarctica sits at the bottom of the world, frozen, silent, holding secrets in its ice, secrets under its ice, secrets in its heat, and secrets in how we're allowed to study it. Or not. What's there? What are we missing? What would we find if we could look freely, if we could explore openly, if we could investigate without restriction? These questions remain, waiting for answers, waiting for truth, waiting for courage, waiting for someone willing to look, willing to ask, willing to challenge what we're told. History is not a line, it's a cycle, and Antarctica may be the missing chapter we were never meant to read.